This morning. All right, we have only 17 days left, everybody. School days, 17 school days here. All right. So our big learning goal today is, the last time we talked, we talked through the food chains, food webs, and all of the particular orders. Now, remember, what was the arrows representing? The arrows was representing the amount of energy going from one trophic level to the next. But one of the things that we kind of talked about last time was, well, why was it that we find so many fewer quaternary or fourth order consumers compared to first order consumers? And why do we think that is necessarily? The energy, yeah, the energy gets quite depleted as we go up each trophic level, but by how much precisely and by what amount gets passed from one level to the next. So I know we're kind of jumping around here, but we're going to go ahead and just kind of go with the flow in terms of energy. And so we're going to talk about what's called the 10% rule in terms of energy and trophic levels. All right. So the question we want to be able to answer in the next couple of days through this lab and worksheet is, what happens to the collective amount of organisms as you move up the trophic level? And also we can put in what happens to the energy as it moves up as well. So here's our basic pyramid here. We have our producers, primary consumers, secondary, tertiary, and this can even go up to quaternary. You just have to add an additional level here, okay? Again, if you look at your notes, you're on the page where it has this particular pyramid in it. I know we're kind of jumping around. We'll come back to the other ones in a bit here. But what happens to the amount of energy? Well, the first thing we want to talk about is what's called the 10% rule, okay? And that is only 10% of the total amount of energy actually gets passed to the next level, okay? Now, what happens to that food? What happens to all that energy? Okay, well, there's a lot of things that causes this. Okay, well, first of all, everybody's in here. All right, which chicken wings do you prefer? Are you a drummy or a wingy? How many people are wing people? Raise your hand. How many people are drummies? Okay, dry rub or wet rub? Uh, Trash dry rub. Yes, those are good. All right, Drew, you said you're a wingy man. Okay, where's your place to go for wings? Oh, that's all right. Who does it? Allie, where do you go?
Well, we go to JP Field, who's one of the main ones, or you don't want spicy wings and more sweeter wings. Dierbergs makes really good wings.
Good to
They
know.
also make really good ribs. They just have an excellent barbecue.
Okay. Now, how many do you eat in one sitting?
I'd split about a dozen.
Dozen. All right, good. Now, here's the thing. When you're done, you got the boneyard, right?
Yeah.
You got your pile of bones. Well, here's the thing, though. All right, Allie, you're only getting 10% of the energy. Well, first of all, you're not eating the entire organism, right? The bones itself is part of the mass of the organism, and it has energy in it. But you're not going to eat it because you're not able to digest those bones, and so those kind of get left. Same thing. You're only eating part of the chicken instead of the whole chicken itself. So there's a lot of reasons that go into why only 10% of the energy gets passed. Is, well, number one, or the entire organism may not have gotten eaten. Number two, you may not be able to digest all of the components of the organism. And the big one, the most of the energy is lost in terms of heat. Okay. And this is, as we've talked about before with energy is never lost or created, it's only transferred. And so everybody has this constant radiating heat off of them, all right? In the room around you, most likely it's 70 degrees, but your body is 98.6 degrees, all right? And what is heat going to do? heat is going to constantly be leaving your body. This is why when you go to the next class period, you have a nice warm seat. Well, that's because the heat from that person's rear went into the seat, and you are experiencing that heat. And so, as a result, because of the metabolism, because of not eating all the organisms, all of these particular things, on average, only 10% gets passed. So, in today's lab, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking and testing to see how is that possible and how is that true in that particular case. Now, we'll add one more thing here, okay? So how does the 10% rule explain these pyramids? So with the biomass, and this is, you're going to put this down for defining biomass. Biomass is the total mass of organisms in that trophic level. All right, add that to that definition right there. Biomass is the total mass of organisms at that trophic level. So we're filling in that defined biomass. So again, the energy available determines the amount of organisms that each trophic level could have. So producers obviously is going to be the greatest amount. Why? Well, there's abundance of food. There's abundance of energy, because when we're talking about producers, these are the autotrophs. They're the ones that go through photosynthesis and convert that sun energy into chemical energy. But as we go from producers to primary consumers, like our herbivores, the zebras here, only 10% of that actual energy gets passed. And so the amount of zebras compared to the amount of producers is drastically reduced. And even more so as you start going up to the apex predator in a lot of these food chains or food webs, there's not going to be very many, just because there's just not enough energy to go around. Yeah. And this is why most apex predators spend most of their time hunting, because they constantly have to replenish their energy. Yes?
So, where do you put the
Just put that, what determines the available energy, or just, hold on here. Underneath, describe how the biomass at each trophic level, that's what you're going to put this orange part. The energy available determines the amount of organisms or biomass the eco can support at each trophic level. And again, it all depends on the producers. The producers are the key thing. The producers are what converts that sun energy, that sunlight energy, into usable chemical energy for organic life. Come back here. All right. And really, let's just kind of look at these questions here. What determines the energy available within a food chain or food web? All right. Well, if we talk about food chains or food webs, it all starts with the producers. The producers is what determines the number of organisms it can support. So what type of ecosystem would we expect to have lots of organisms or biomass at each trophic level and have lots of producers? Yeah, places like rainforests, those that have an abundance amount of rain and warmer temperatures, sunlight. But as you go to the flip side of that, let's say a desert, it may have abundance of sun, but may not have enough producers to be able to do that. So what we're going to be doing today is seeing how all of this kind of goes about in terms of the lab here. So let's take a look at, again, we take a look at this. Are we all ready to go?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm just gonna boss around your group as well.
Oh, no, that's fine. All right. So let's go ahead and pause this right here, okay? And let's go ahead and let's open up, go ahead and jump onto Schoology real quick here. Oh, I hope this recorded. Yeah, it did.